Oh, man. Oh, man. It is draft week. Campo and Joe fired up and ready to go. That's our head coach, Dave Campo. Joe C. from XL Primetime, and we hope that you guys hang out with us, kind of get the feel for what you think the Jaguars might do come Thursday night. And then, honestly, Coach, I guess the number of possibilities with staying in the fifth spot or trading out of it, somebody jumping in there, whatever. And it seems like it's endless right now with all the chatter heading up to Thursday night.
Yeah, but that's always the case, though, if you have a high pick, because, obviously everybody is looking at those guys and saying, hey, maybe there's only 10 guys in here that have first-round grades, like one GM said.
Yeah.
So maybe if we want a really good one, we need to move. We need to get up there.
So what's your thought right now? And we're basically a little over 48 hours out. By this time on Thursday, everyone's just going to be chomping at the bit to get to the first pick. It'll take basically the first hour before Jacksonville is on the clock. What's your gut right now? Spend a minute here on maybe the first 2 or 3 picks, and then if you think any action's going to happen there.
Well, first of all, I think we're in a wildcat spot.
A good one.
Yes, because there are a number of guys, if you look at the first 4, you're probably going to be pretty close. You're going to get Cam Ward, you're going to get the Hunter.
Yeah.
You're going to get Carter.
Mm-hmm. Some combination, right?
You don't know how the direction's going to go.
Yeah.
And then the 4th pick is probably going to be either a defensive lineman, maybe it's Mason Graham, or it's an offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. So you got those 4 situations. Yeah. Now, number 5, you're looking at Membo, Graham, Johnson, Genty.
Yeah.
There's a number of guys, the tight end, Warren.
Yeah, Tyler Warren.
All those guys are in that top 10, and somebody's going to want somebody there. Mm-hmm. And there's a good chance it'll come at number 5.
Yeah. It's funny because Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are basically being thrown out there as either the top prospect, second best prospect, or vice versa. A lot of boards say that. Cam Ward is not in maybe the top 5 when it comes to overall prospects, but he's the best quarterback, and that's the most important position. Tennessee's going there. We know that's a no-brainer. After that, you try and figure out what's going to happen. Now there's chatter, and this is coming from a handful of different talking heads that have definitely at least had GMs or somebody in front offices pick up the phone, share a little intel with them. You have to ask the very easy and basic question. Are they lying? Okay?
Yeah.
Right now, with inside 48 hours, are they lying about what they're telling these analysts, what they may or may not do?
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke that goes on at this time in the draft. There's no question. Smoke screens, you got a bunch of Indians out there letting it fly because really that's a major situation when you have a really good pick. I harken back in the day with the Cowboys, early when we built that Super Bowl team, a lot of it was we had to move. We had to move to get guys. Emmitt Smith was the biggest one. We had to jump a team, and we had to give up some picks to do it.
Right.
As a matter of fact, the second year of our draft in 90, we only had 6 picks. We had 13 the first year, and we had 18 the second year. Now, that's 12 rounds.
Right, that's
but
a
we
lot.
only had 6 in the second year because we moved around to make sure we got some people that we wanted, and we hit on the top 4 or 5 guys that we took.
Yeah, which is the most important thing, which brings us to these first 4 or 5 picks in the first 4 rounds. They can't screw it up, or at the very least, they better find, I just keep describing it as bona fide starters or real contributors, meaning they step on the football field on game day.
Right.
They may not play every play, but dang it, they will have an impact.
Well, of course, we're looking at it. I look at it very similar situation to where we were with the Cowboys when we got there. We weren't very good, and we supplemented. If this group of free agents is who we hope they are,
right?
That's exactly what we did with the Plan B free agency. We got enough guys at certain positions where we felt, look, if we can't get somebody, we can play with that guy. This guy's good enough to line up and go. And I think that's the way they feel about a number of these guys that they got.
Yeah.
Now you supplement it with the draft, and what we ended up doing in a 7-round draft, we out of the top 7, we hit on 8 of the 11, and most of them are from 4 and under.
Right. First round, second, third,
we
and fourth
grabbed a bunch of guys, in trades and stuff to where we had more 1s, more 2s, more 3s, and more 4s, and we hit a vast majority of those. So we have to hit on those picks, and that's one thing we've struggled with here over the last,
oh my gosh,
decade or more.
Yeah, and you've had guys like Trent Baalke come out of the war room and basically say, we couldn't get anybody to trade with us, which is just a bunch of crap,
Yeah,
okay?
you can do whatever you want to do if you got enough picks.
Exactly. He had draft capital. He didn't maneuver or work the phones as well as you would like to see a James Gladstone in this front office that's in place now, hopefully do. He said, Gladstone, I call him Harry Potter. That's his new nickname for me. Calling him Harry Potter.
What did Harry Potter have? Like a wizard stick or something?
He can just fix a lot of things really, really fast. I watched him over the weekend, and there was just destruction everywhere, and he just started looking, and everything just came back together. So that's what I'm hoping James Gladstone can do. I'm looking at Yoda. He does not know who Gene Wilder is. Do you know who Gene Wilder? I want you to look it up right now.
Yeah.
And I have him as the nickname for Liam Cohen.
Yes.
So I'm going with Gene Wilder and Harry Potter. Yeah.
Okay.
So between the two of them.
What do you got for Boselli?
You're going to say, yeah? Okay. Yeah, there it is. What
do you got for Boselli?
He's
just Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not insulting him at all. But these two guys need to work a little magic, okay? And that's the Harry Potter part of this.
Yes.
And he said that, yes, we have the most draft picks over the next 2 years, but it doesn't necessarily mean they need to use every pick. All right, so what do you feel like you're hearing that is correct right now, that Jacksonville could want to trade out of that 5th spot? And is it for others to jump in to get Ashton Genty? Is it to get Ted McMillan? What's your gut right now?
Well, my gut is Ashton Genty, because I really don't believe that anybody's going to take him in the first 4.
Yeah, and I'm just going to insert this right now. Peter Schrager this morning says that Cleveland and New York, the Giants, are open for business. Their phones are ringing, and he said it has to do with the running back.
Yeah, well, no, there's no question.
But that high in the draft?
Yeah. Listen, all I can tell you is this. Get you an Emmitt Smith and then put a bunch of guys around him. That's all I can tell you. And that was a big deal for us back in the day. Give me Fred Taylor. If I got Fred Taylor here.
Yeah.
Now, this is only if you're not just looking at this year.
Right.
If you're looking at, we got a decent football team here, we need one piece, then that's a big choice.
Yeah.
Zeke Elliott with the Cowboys. I was doing radio and TV in Dallas when he came out. The choice was Ramsey or Zeke Elliott, number 5, right?
Yeah, one went 4th, one went 5th.
And I said, listen, take the guy that can score points.
Yeah.
And they took Zeke.
Yeah.
Now, again, who knows if that's right or wrong, because they hadn't gotten back to the Super Bowl, but they had a pretty darn good football team with Zeke, and he was a pretty good player. So I think that that's the key right there. There's somebody that might want to come up because they feel like this is the year.
That one guy.
Next year, this guy makes the difference. And I don't think we're at that point right now where we would take him.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And you're basically saying that if someone feels like the Eagles felt a year ago that they've got
Saquon.
They've got quarterback, they got receivers, they got line play, they got a good defense, they got the big Jalen Carters and Jordan Davises of the world. They had a lot in place.
Right.
Well, they went and got him in free agency. They poached him from inside the division, and that made a hell of a lot of sense.
Right.
You know, it's a copycat league. You know that better than most of us.
Absolutely.
And so once they see it work, they want to try and make it work with whomever they have. But what type of king's ransom are you going to have to give up if you think you've got all the other pieces just to get Ashton Genty in your uniform?
Well, if you're going 2 or 3, you're giving up picks this year and next year, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You remember Mike Ditka.
Oh, he
gave up his whole draft.
Yeah.
Now, that wasn't a real smart move.
It was not a smart
in my opinion, but it's going to cost you, and I don't think that people are willing to give up their whole draft like they used to, but they're willing to give up picks next year. We always looked at it like if you if you give up a 2 next year, it's really a 3. And I don't know if I can explain that to you, but you're not giving up that exact pick in your mind.
Yeah, very true.
And so it'll take, and I don't have the chart in front of me.
Right.
But it's going to take a lot to get up 2, 3, 4, or 5 even. You know, you're going to have to give up 3 picks this year.
All right. So let's just have fun, because I got a couple of these trades that I took on with the mock that I did with Pro Football Network. And it was kind of fun. And I just took advantage of the idea that there are people that want to jump into that 5th spot. Okay.
Right.
So bear with me, Coach, because I'm going to tell you what ultimately happened in the simulator, which it did not include Ashton Genty going in that 5th spot, but it definitely included some activity. That's for sure. All right. So the way they decided to do it is they'll give you basically the mock draft, and you make your decision on which way you're going to go, and then from there you accept the trade or you reject the trade.
Right.
And let me just close this one part of this real quick. And so I put it together just trying to figure out exactly where I thought this thing would go. So at the beginning of the draft, you have Cam Ward, you have Abdul Carter, you have Travis Hunter, you have Will Campbell going 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
This does not include Ashton Genty, of course. So I traded out. I let Chicago come up and grab that spot. Now, you would have thought Chicago would have grabbed Ashton Genty. Instead, they go with Armand Membu.
Yeah.
Okay? So they take Membu. I drop back 5 spots into the 10th position.
Yep.
And I take Jalen Walker, the edge from the University of Georgia. Now, here's the thing. I gave up the 5th pick, Coach, and look at this. I got the 10th pick, and I got the 39th pick, which I traded again, and a third-round pick for next year.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just active trying to make sure things happen. So I got Jalen Walker, and then after that, let's see here, Ashton Genty goes a couple of picks later.
Yeah.
He goes 12th, which I actually think that's kind of the spot that a running back belongs in. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, I don't think he's going to last that long. But but at the same time, that's, you know, and I always look I don't know where Fred went. I don't remember where Fred came in.
Fred went 9th.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a legitimate for a really good player.
But here's what we have to remind ourselves: from the time that you were in the draft in the war room and Dallas moved up to get Emmitt Smith, it was run, pass.
Correct.
Then it got to Freddie T in the late 90s, and it was run, pass, run.
Yeah.
Okay, so the run game was still a big part of it.
Right.
We all know now it's pass, run.
Yeah.
And then Saquon changed.
The run is starting to come back in people's mind.
Yeah.
And, man, let me tell you something. I'm hoping it's offensive line for us that helps our running game because it helps our quarterback.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
100%. 100% there. So after I took Jalen Walker, you saw a couple of other guys come off the board, Rusher and Mike Green after Walker.
Good player.
Really good player out of Marshall. And then after that, you had Tyler Warren, you had Kelvin Banks, you had Shamar Stewart, a handful of guys. So then I went down into the second round, and I also made another deal and picked up some more picks. So I traded 36. I gave up 221, which was a 7th rounder. I got a pick number 50 in this draft and a second-round pick next year. Yeah. So I felt like I was starting to haul in some decent draft capital.
Right.
And that way I could jump back in when I wanted to later.
Right.
That's the essence of what I was trying to do.
Well, you do it. That's the way it's done right there. I mean, I think what you'd get to is if you get, I don't know, I didn't follow exactly, but if you have 3 or 4 picks in the top 50, you're in pretty darn good place.
Yeah, so I shot you a screenshot of what it is, and you just look at it, and you can tell me whether I'm all wet or not. But Jalen Walker, I took him 10th in this draft with trades. These are all trades.
I love Jalen Walker. He's going to start at a regular linebacker, and he'll come on the edge on 3rd down.
Now,
so I like that.
Do you like him as much or more than Abdul Carter at that position, the way this team would play him? Off the ball, like we're describing?
No, I like Abdul Carter. He's one of the best guys in this draft. Period.
I get that.
But Walker is like Hunter.
Yeah.
You know, he's a dual guy in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think they're going to try to get that same thing out of Lloyd.
Devin Lloyd, yeah.
Devin Lloyd, if he's still with us, I think they're going to try to use him in a little bit of rush.
They should. They should.
We've talked about that.
Yeah. So Jalen could be that guy. Devin easily could be that guy. But I went up and I got him, or I traded back and I got him. Then I moved a little further down in the second round. I got the offensive guard out of Arizona, Jonas Savanea, who I think is a big, burly,
a lot of people really like
son
him.
of a gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so then I had a deal where I traded there. Then I traded for a defensive tackle, and I got Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. I came back later and got, with the 70th pick overall, I got Jack Beck, the wide receiver out of TCU.
Love him.
So right now I've got 4 picks in the first 70. I come back, I get a tight end, Terrence Ferguson from Oregon with the 88th pick.
He's a good guy down the middle. Can run. He's a good pass receiver.
And has some decent size to be an inline blocker.
Yep.
And then I have Dorian Strong, the cornerback out of Virginia Tech, that I picked 101st.
Right.
Do you remember if you looked him up at all? Because I like him.
Yeah.
And
I have not seen him, but I've seen the next guy you took.
Yeah, Malachi Moore.
Yeah.
I like
him as a safety.
It's so funny, Coach. If you take a look at the number of starts that this cat has in a Crimson Tide uniform,
absolutely.
Yeah, he may not be the biggest, fastest, strongest.
Right.
And then I got a big burly tackle out of Iowa State, Jalen Travis, 142nd. And then I went back with the interior line, and I got Jonah Monham from USC as a bona fide replacement at center.
Right.
Because right now, if you have Robert Hainsey, you don't know exactly what you have behind him.
Yeah.
And so these are, at least in my mind, choices to not just reinforcements, replacements going forward.
Right. And I think that's what you're looking for, with the free agent guys coming in. You certainly hope that you've got them for 3-4 years, but a lot of them are at the top of their, age limit, that type of thing, like Jordan Lewis.
Yeah.
We got James Washington and some of these guys in free agency off of Plan B. They were kind of working towards the end, and you get 4 years out of them. But if they're not quite good enough, you're trying to replace them with those draft picks, and that's the key there.
And Gladstone, I think, nailed it when he said we're not going and signing guys that are going to get in the way of developing a younger player.
Correct.
And operate that way.
Yep.
Get guys that you need right now, but start paving the way for the future.
Yes.
So I've got 9 picks, even though it seems like, well, wait a minute, they started with 10, you only traded away 1. Well, I got 9 picks by moving a little bit, and I picked up a
bunch in the next year.
Yeah, a second and 2/3 for next year.
Yeah.
I really don't think that's a bad way to look at this.
Right.
And you were able to wheel and deal and make some moves.
Yeah.
So that's the essence of it.
Yeah. Listen, the only problem we have with these simulators is we don't know how our team views the guys that we had an opportunity to pick in the spots that we send them out there.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I know I'm going to get asked a number of times, who are they going to take with the 5th pick?
Yeah.
Well, if I was me, I'd take Membo. But guess what? They may not like Membo.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really the problem that you have when you're prognosticating.
Yeah, but between your research, my research, all the stuff that we have talked about, this is a deeper draft at the defensive tackle position, at the edge position.
Right.
There's a decent number of wide receivers that you can get your hands on in the 3rd round, like we mentioned with Jack Beck and the kid from Stanford, Elick, who is a really, really good bigger target to get the football to. You have thin positions. The interior offensive line is not as deep a group that you would like to see.
Yeah, you'd have to look at some of the tackles and say, okay, can we move a guy?
Gotcha.
And that's the way you get the interior alignment if you don't have a guy. Because, when you look at an offensive guard, for example, the athletic ability of those offensive guards are not as big a deal, but at the same time, you need certain traits in there. You've got to have a guy that's we talk about it all the time. Leon Searcy, even though he played right tackle, would have been a great guard because he's so physical and low to the ground and tough. I think you got to look at, this year especially. I think you have to group in the guards and the tackles a little bit.
So the way I think, if you're Jacksonville, you need to be looking at that first round is say, if someone approaches and you like the deal, let's back out of this bad boy. Your point is well taken that who are you going to miss out on and how important is that guy?
Right.
Are there other guys?
Right.
So when you look at it, Coach, if you get to back up, you acquire another second-round pick, something in that neighborhood, you drop 5, 6, 7, 8 spots. Who are you then targeting with that first round, do you think? Let's just do the fun game.
If you can't back out.
Yeah, let's just say you did back out.
Oh, we did back out. So we're sitting at around 11.
Yeah, let's just say somewhere between 10 and 15.
Well, here's what I did. I put together a little group.
Okay.
And this is just my opinion of who will be there. I have no idea who's going to be there. But you're looking at from 11 to 16, in my opinion, you're going to have a shot at Will Johnson, the corner, right? If you want to go there. I put Banks in there. I don't think Banks is going to go in the top 10. He's a pretty darn good offensive lineman now.
Big Kelvin out of Texas.
I put Simmons in there. Okay. If I had my choice, I'd take Simmons.
Josh Simmons coming through an injury, but still a really
a good, strong, physical, tough, nasty. And then you got a guy like Golden, the wide receiver. You want to go a wide receiver group? I think Golden's better than McMillan, to be perfectly honest with you. But I like both of those guys. And then I looked at if you want to go tight end, Loveland's going to be there. Okay. So those are the kind of guys that I looked at for that somewhere in that neighborhood of 11 to 16 guys that might be there.
I like that. It's a good list to at least factor in. You can go that cornerback route. If you are a little further, you trade a little further back. Maxwell Hairston is another guy that could be really good. Trey Amos, I love. But if you're looking at those linemen, you are going to have to make a decision. And if you are going to go for a Josh Simmons, let's just say you do that, Coach. What are you saying to your tackles right now that are in the building? What are you saying to them?
Hey, let's get ready.
Competition's wide open.
Yeah, I listen. I heard a great interview with Jerry and Jones at a podcast yesterday, and when the Cowboys traded, or when the Jacksonville grabbed Lewis, they asked Jerry, "And what did you think?" He went, "Whoa." Now, what does that mean? Yeah. That means, wait a minute, they just took a 10-year veteran at my position.
Right.
Okay, that's what you're getting out of those tackles. Yeah, they took a pretty darn good high player at my position. I better get going.
Yeah, and Jarian said, hey, it also may mean I can play outside. I'm ready to play outside.
I'm ready to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. And he basically told the coaches, I want the opportunity to play outside. Well,
which I think is good, because I think he's going to play one way or another. I love the guy. But my point is, you said it. You take a guy at your position, especially high. Yeah. I don't think they worry too much about the guys in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th rounds, 7th rounds, but they worry about those guys in the top 10 to 15 to 20.
Well, one of the best examples is Maurice Jones-Drew being taken in the 2nd round when Freddie T is in the backfield. You know, Freddie took notice.
I was there when they took him.
You were in the building when they took Maurice Jones-Drew. But at the same time, you couldn't pass up on that guy.
No.
In the 2nd round of a draft.
Absolutely.
They had taken Mercedes Lewis. This is all the way back in 2006. Coach was part of the staff under Jack Del Rio, and they had the big, inline, powerful Mercedes from UCLA, and they said, hey, MJD's still there. Freddie has been great, but he's 8, 9, 10 years in 8 years in the league.
Right.
And let's go ahead and start to plan for the future.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of, where that's when we talk about Genty, that's what you're doing, in my opinion. If you move up to get a guy like that, you're planning for the future. You're not talking about just this year.
All right.
You're talking about, we get this guy. I'm talking about if we stayed. Excuse me. I said, come up, get him. If we stay and take a Genty, you're talking about 2 years, 3 years down the road, not just this year.
I've already said I am against Ashton Genty coming to the Jags with the 5th pick overall.
Right.
You can hammer me. You can if he goes off and you can say, Joe C., you're an idiot. What were you thinking? And I'll probably admit that I was blinded by the idea that line of scrimmage needs to be fixed before the run game can be before you can add to the running back room. But if you do, I'm just going to add this one little kind of caveat. If you take Ashton Genty 5th, you better pick that offensive lineman with that 36th pick.
Yeah.
That
or
better be the
or you move to get one.
and you get a guy.
That's
okay?
exactly
because
right.
you better not screw that up.
Absolutely. We got to get better up front, period.
Yeah, and have a guy back there because he had more yards than any other running back in the FBS this past season after contact.
Correct. That's why I like him. I think that's what makes him special.
He's awesome. But guess what? He will have contact in the backfield.
A lot quicker.
yeah. Okay? He will not experience the same type of blocking up
and I
front.
think that's one of the weaknesses. I mean, if you look at it, all these guys have a weakness, even the top guys. I mean, there's something that you can point to, and a lot of it becomes paralysis by analysis on some of these guys when you start really picking. But, you have to look a little bit at the level of competition when you look at Genty. And that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
The level of competition is going to kick up to where, you're going to get hit a lot quicker. You got to, is there something in there that might keep you from taking the guy?
All right, so let's just wrap up with a couple of fun things, okay?
Yep.
Over under right now is 2.5 quarterbacks in the first round. Do you think it will be over 2.5 or under 2.5? And this is basically Cam, Shador, and Jackson Dart, or Cam, Dart, and Shador.
Yeah.
We don't know. So are you willing to go there?
I think they're going to be 3. I think the third quarterback's going to go in the back half of the draft.
Okay, I'm with you. I'll go over 2.5 because everyone's quarterback crazy.
Absolutely. You got to have one. I mean, that's how important it is.
Total number of trades in the first round. I'm suggesting 6.
Yeah.
What would you go with?
I'm going to say if in fact it's true, and again, we don't look at the guys the same way that these guys have been studying these guys, some of them for 2 or 3 years. So if there's only 10 in the top 10, I say 18. That's my number every year. There's about 18 guys that have first round grades. So if there's only 10, I'm going to say the chances are that you're closer than I'm going to be.
Okay, what do you?
But I'm going to go 4.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at 17 or 18 guys in the top where people are going to want to get a hold of them.
I think the way you're doing it makes more sense than me just throwing a number out there because you are clearly seeing the quality that it ends somewhere near the middle, and that way teams aren't necessarily willing to jump in. Over-under is 4.5. So you went under, I went over.
Yeah. Okay.
And then let's just end on this one, and I love this. Travis Hunter has told the NFL and Roger Goodell, whenever he is selected, which will probably be number 2, he will be introduced as a wide receiver and a cornerback in the National Football League. That's pretty cool. He's basically saying, don't identify me. In other words, he's got pronouns that he's asking for.
Well, he absolutely feels like he can play both ways.
Yes.
And that's one of the strengths that he has. That's the Deion Sanders. I don't mean ability. I'm talking about mentally. Because as far as he's concerned, he's the best player in the draft, period. Right. And that goes a long way.
Oh, you better believe it.
Now, you have to be able to show that, but he's shown his ability to do both of those things. Yeah. So, I wouldn't put it past him.
He wants to be introduced that way, and he wants to be paid that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So, believe me, there's a long game at work there.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
That's the Deion Sanders effect.
Yeah. You better believe it.
He played for the best marketer in the history of football. Believe me.
Exactly.
You've heard my story, and we'll end on this, I guess. But you heard my story about Deion that he basically in 4, if he's out there for 4 plays, they may complete 2 on him. The third one he may knock down. The fourth one, if he intercepts it, it's going in the end zone.
Yeah.
So they didn't throw at him. He was hurt in a ball game against Arizona, came in the fourth quarter when they were driving. They never threw a ball at him. He couldn't walk. It was his foot. He limped onto the field, and they didn't throw over there. So that's marketing to me. No question about it.
His presence and dominance, it preceded him, that's for sure. All right, Coach, good stuff as always.
Yep.
We can't wait. Now, listen, we'll be on our live stream on Friday around 10:10. as we look back at the first round and see whether or not a deal went down, whether they stayed at number 5 or whether they traded back in late. Until then, we appreciate all of Duval for hanging out with us with a little Campo and Joe.
Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.